Hi guys, welcome to another Maths Corner video, and today we're going to be having a look at revising over everything that we've looked at in chapter 1 of the Maths Corner. So as you I'll just make you all aware that so far I've taken everything out of this book and we've just done chapter 1. I've had this book for about over 20 years. And it's amazing what I found out of it. So we're just going to carry on with the revising of what we've covered in chapter 1. And let's begin. So this video will give you extra questions that will help you recap over. There were 8 exercises in this chapter, and they'll be lettered instead of numbered, and you'll see that as we go through, and I'll give you a brief explanation to remind you of the topic in each exercise. So let's start with the numbers. So at this point we are looking at, from this set of numbers, we've got 5, 19, 28, 40, 64, 81 and 100. We're looking for a multiple of 5, whether you've got 3 of them here. So you can either go for 5, which is obviously it's obviously a multiple of 5, 40 and 100. 2 squared numbers, so we've got a couple here. We've got 60, well, we've got 3 here. In this case, you've got 64, which is 8 squared, 81, which is 9 squared, and 100 being 10 squared. 2 prime numbers. Now, just a reminder, a prime number is something that can only be divided wholly by itself on 1. So that would be 5 and 19. 2 factors of 320. Well, you've got a 5. You've got 5 there. And you've got 40. And you've also got 64, because 64 times 5 is 320. And then we have the number, which is the sum of 2 numbers in this set. So we'll look over in this set of numbers, and we've got to work out which 2 make up the one that's also in the list. We've got that, so we've got 100, because it then equals 19 plus 81. And then we've got, moving on to the next exercise, at this point, we've got, write down the next 3 numbers in each sequence and describe the formation. So this one, we've got 1, 2, 4 and 8. So we've got then 16, because these double each time. We have 16, 32 and 64. And then we could put down the numbers double. And then we've got, missed out a comma. 1, 4, 9, 16, and then we've got then 25, 36, 49, and these are all square numbers. The next one, we've got 72, 64, 56, 48. Now, if you want a trick as to work out what's going on, be able to describe that. And these go down by 8 each time. So then we can work out that then we've got 40 32, and 24. The next one's an interesting one. This is what we call triangular numbers, where you go 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Which means that if you carry on with this pattern, you then do plus 5, plus 6, plus 7. It's the same with this one as well. These are factorial numbers. Let's just sort that out. These ones are factorial numbers. And then you go, there are 5 factorials, so 24 times 5, 20, there's 120 times 6, and then 720 times 7. I will put the comma into that. Better not, because we've got the commas there in the sequence as well. And that is the first part of exercise 1A. The next part is find the sum of the first 4 even numbers, where we've got 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 6 is 12, plus 8 is 20. And then we want to find out the product of 50 and 480. Now, a product is where you multiply the numbers together, so this will be your answer. And then we write that answer in words. $2,400. I'd normally, that's fine. 2,400. What's the difference between 3,645? We'll write these in figures as well. And 7,214. We'll work that out. So we need to carry one over, so that would then be 14, that's 9. 10 minus 4. 1 minus 6. So 11 minus 6. And that should be your answer. We'll do a quick reversal on that. So that's 14. 1, that's 14. 10, 11, 11, 12, 6, 7. Yeah, that's the correct answer. And now we've got to write this down. $3,569. As such, and that's what we've got there. 3,569. Add 37, 49, and 18. We'll do 37 and 49 first. That will give you 86. There's a trick behind that. I'll tell you what that is. and then you've got then 18 for 86, which is 104. But yeah, as I say, there's a trick behind that, and I'll tell you what that is. Fifth cube number, well, we go through the cube numbers. So 1 cubed is 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, then we've got 64. 5 cubed is 5 times 5 times 5, and that's 125. I'll write down that as well. Let's just superscript that as well. Just so that doesn't confuse anyone. The attendance at a live concert was 216,427. Write this number in figures. So we've got 216,427. And that would be your answer there. Now we're going for directional numbers. So we're going to look at minus 7 plus 10. So we do then this point, we do switch that round, 10 minus 7 gives you 3. Minus 9 plus minus 7. Now remember, a plus and a minus make a minus. So this then will become a minus. So yeah, that's right. That then becomes a minus because then you've got a plus and a minus. So then you do minus 6, therefore your answer would be minus 16. Minus 46 plus 60 even. That, a plus and a plus make a plus because you focus on the second number. That determines the direction. That will determine the direction as to where the numbers are going. And that would be 14. 45 plus 54. They're both pluses, they'll go in the same direction. Now these are going to be interesting ones, so you work on one sum at a time. So in this case you do the minus and the minus, which make a plus, which gives you the 100, minus 100, and then you've got a plus and a minus, which make a minus. And that gives you then, and then that gives you minus 690. Another one, we start off with a plus. We'll write this down. A plus and a minus make a minus. And then you've got another minus and a plus. So you had a plus and a minus there, this time you've got a plus. So you had a plus and a minus there, and this time you've got a minus and a plus. Which also makes a minus. The next one is another interesting one. So we start off with a minus. You know, a minus and a minus, which make a plus. It's 4,310. That will make that. Don't forget the minus there as well. So it'd be minus 4,310. And then you've got a minus, a plus and a minus, which make a minus. Yeah. Then you've got a plus and a minus, which make a minus. Which makes that minus 4,502. And those are your answers to the extra exercises in 1B. Next, we are now going to be doing timesing. So we then take the two numbers together and determine where they're going. So you've got a minus. So a minus, let's give an official reminder as to how each one goes. So you've got any like signs will give a plus, and any unlike signs make a minus. So plus times a plus give you a plus. Plus times a minus or minus times a plus will give you a minus. Minus times a minus will give a plus. So minus 5 times 9, where we got minus times a plus. So in this case, that'll give you minus 45. Minus 10 divided by minus 4. Well, you got two minuses. A minus times a minus gives a plus. We'll put it down in fraction form as well. We'll look at more in fractions later. And then we've got 10 times minus 4. So then you've got a plus times a minus, which makes a minus. And then you've got a minus divided by plus, which keeps you in a minus. The next one, we've got to do what's inside the brackets first. And then we've got minus 3 times minus 6, which is 18, because a minus times a minus make a plus. And divide that by 9 for 2. Next, minus 3 times minus 3, well, minus times a minus make a plus. And then you've got another minus 3 for that, so then a plus times a minus makes a minus. Getting anything but the number I'm after. And those are your answers for 1C. So you notice 1B looked at addition and subtraction. 1C looked at multiplication and division. 1D, we're looking at order of operations. So we do brackets first, then the indices, followed by multiplication and division left to right, because they're equal priority. And then addition and subtraction again left to right, because they're equal priority. So what we've got 5 plus 7 times 6, where we do the times first, 7 times 6 first, which is 42. And then you do your 5 after that. And that should give you the answer of 47. 9 minus 10 divided by 5. Well, we do the 10 divided by 5 first, because that has priority over your subtract. Because division has priority over subtraction. And then that gives you 9 minus 2. Which will then give you the answer of 7. This is an interesting one. So you do your factorial first, because it counts as an index. 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. We mentioned earlier what a factorial is. That's 24. Then we do your times. So we do 24 times 7 first. We'll put the rest of the sum in as well. So do 24 times 7 first, that's 168. And then we do the 10 times 5 after that, which is 50. And then 168 plus 50 gives you 218. And now we've got brackets. So it's important to do what's inside the brackets first. In this case, so we've got 35 divided by 7, which is 5. And then we've got the index, because we've got square numbers, so we do 6 squared, which is 36, plus 40 minus the 5, and then you can do left to right, because add and subtract have equal priority. So that would be 71, 76, 71. Because you do 36 plus 40 first, because that appears first, and then 76 minus 5. I think I better put that in. Give you a bit of a work, it shows your workings out. And then the next one, we've got a bit of extra work to be looking at. So we've got a couple of indexes. We've got actually 3 indexes. In this, we have a square root, we have a factorial, and we have a square. So we'll start with the brackets first. And remember, Bidmus applies not only outside of the brackets, but also inside it as well. So we then do 5 squared first, which is 25. Times that by the 5. That gives you 125. And then we do, let's put the whole sum in. Would be a good way to go about it. Because then that will give you the chance to then just work through that. So then we do the square root of 49 next, because indexes come after the brackets. Square root of 49 is 7. And then we've got a 5 factorial, which we mentioned in the sequences earlier. 5 is all. A 5 factorial is the product of all the numbers, all the positive numbers leading up to 5. And that's how we've got that. We do 100 plus 7, which is 107, obviously. And then we do 107 plus 120. And then we do the minus of 125, which gives you 102. And that's your answer to all of that. The next thing we want to look at is this sum. We have in brackets 69 minus 3 times 10 plus 5, which we're obviously going to do first because it's, do forgive me for my use of obviously. We're going to do that first. Again, remember that Bidmus applies not only outside the brackets but inside as well. So we do the 3 times 10 first, which is 30. And then we'll do the plus and the minus in the exact order they appear. So in this case, the subtraction comes first. So that then becomes 39. And then that leaves you with 39 plus 5, which then gives you 44. And then you've got a divide in there as well. Division always has priority over addition. And then it leaves you with the plus after that. Hopefully that made sense. But that was the answer that we got following from that. Those are the answers that we've got. Now we're on to square roots and reciprocals. Let's write down the first 12 square numbers. So there's 1 squared, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The trick behind that is if you add up the odd numbers together, so you do 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7, that'll give you a square number. So you'll be able to work with that as well. The next one is the first eight cube numbers. So you do 1, and then you multiply that by itself. So that's 1. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. 9 times 3, 16 times 4. 25 times 5, 36 times 6, 49 times 7, 81 times 8. That's an interesting thing to look at as well. The next thing we want to look at, just try not to get too distracted. Find the value of, I need to take these off, superscript, 3 to the power of 5, where you've got then 3 times 3 times 3 times another 3, 81 times 5, 81 times 3, 2 to the power of 6, 2, that's squared, that's cubed, that's 4th power, 5th power, 6th power. We then do this one where we're going to go into equations. We've got 2 cubed times 2 to the power of 4. Well, 2 cubed is 8 times 16, so that's 2 to the power of 4. 8 times 16 is 128. So try and work that out for a moment. The next one we want to look at is 2 to the power of 5, which is 32. Times 4 squared is 16. 32 times 16 is 496. And then we've got 3 cubed divided by 3 squared. So it's 27. Let me turn the superscript off. Let me turn the superscript off again. 27 divided by 9 gives you 3. And then we find the square roots of the following. Well, the first two and the last ones are going to be quite easy because you just count them along. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because we've already listed it. And again, we've already listed this one as well. 9, 10, 11. The square root of 256, well, 16 times 16. And 36 is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next one. We're now working on reciprocals. Now, reciprocals is where you flip the sum on its head. You flip the number on its head. So that then becomes 5 over 1, or 5. I'll do the scripts once they're done. And then we've got a decimal, which, how many of those, because we then do the 8 and it's 3/8, which gives you that. Let me turn the subscript off at this point. We'll flip that over on its head. Definitely comes in handy when you're dividing fractions, and more of that will come later on in the maths corner. And then we convert that into a mixed number. And therefore that is your answer there, 2 1/3. 3 3/4 is the next one. So you have to convert that into a top-heavy number. So you've got 3 times 4, which is 12. Add another 3 to that, because then you multiply the 3 by its denominator and then add the numerator to it. That's a way to convert a mixed number into a top-heavy fraction, and then you flip the sum over on its head. 4 over 15. As such, 7 1/2 is the same thing. So you multiply the denominator, which is 14, and then you add the numerator to that. And then we'll come out of that, and then we'll swap that over. And that gives you the 2 over 15. 9 1/2, so we'll turn that into a normal fraction. And then we'll go into, let me just put my phone into focus. And then we'll go into the usual following of multiplying the denominator by the number and then adding the numerator. That gives you that, and then 19 over 2, and then you flip it. as such. And then we want the third squared number, which is 9, because we mentioned that earlier. Sixth cubed number is 216. Again, we mentioned that earlier. And now we want to evaluate the answer of 6 squared, which is 36, times the cubed root of 64, which is 4. 36 times 4 is 144. Next one is factors and multiples. Now, I think we're going to split this into 2 parts. So what we'll do is we'll split this into 2 parts, and we'll just skip straight to this bonus question. And then what we'll do is we'll just quickly go through this question, and then I'll explain as to why I've decided then we're going to split it into 2. So we want the square root of 25 first, and then we want the factorial of 5, which we did earlier. And then we want the 70 at the very end, because then that's the subtract. We'll do the subtraction first, which is 65, and then we add the 120 afterwards. And that gives you this answer of 185. Well, we're going to split this into 2 parts, as I mentioned, because the last few exercises go into factors, and I'm going to need more time just to go over those, particularly with the lowest common multiple. And we're already about 40 minutes into the video. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.